For me, I would say that my financial literacy journey really didn't start until I started my beekeeping business, or my bee business. Um, and actually, I can credit my bee business for some of the thought processes that I have about investing and financial literacy. I started beekeeping. I got into it initially because there was a period of time that I was dealing with some health issues quite frequently, and it made me a very unreliable employee for other people. On top of that, I was dealing with a lot of issues from my time in the military and becoming a civilian again. Um, that's if you don't have a good support system when you're transitioning in between any phase of your life, um, any part of your life is going to get a little bit more difficult. So I was dealing with some health issues. I wasn't able to really put out work uh, like other people wanted me to, and my body just couldn't handle it. So I needed to get into something that I could continue to make money on, even if I wasn't there. Initially, I wrote a couple of articles and did some interviews and things to bring in some money on the side, and that was well, but it wasn't consistent. And when I started, I did start selling initially honey and beeswax. I, I was I didn't have any money to put into it. I built all of my own equipment. Um, I started from scratch. I caught swarms, and I went from there. And then I was able to, so pretty much with definitely less than $100 in supplies and gas and everything total, I was able to start my business. And I put a lot of marketing, advertising into social media platforms and things that I can do for free, um, where the cost of entry is very, very little, if any. That's always worked pretty well for me so far. Uh, but with the beekeeping, when I was away sick for weeks at a time, I could come back, harvest some honey, take a few frames of wax, sell it, and get right back on my feet again. From there, I went into doing removal services, doing wasp and hornet removals, and then cutouts, taking honeybees out of various locations. And then I got into selling equipment, and then eventually teaching. Um, but the way that I started beekeeping definitely influenced the way that I think about finances. One of my big goals, something that I think about quite frequently, is how I can set up a cash flow source and automate it as much as possible. Set it up so it requires as little supervision as possible to produce a steady income. Some of my income streams they're not like multi-thousand-dollar streams or anything. They're still very humble at this point, but they're set up to where I really don't have to work for it. I know that consistently I can expect a certain amount from each one of these endeavors, and I've already put the work into it. I did the startup work, and now the just like the bees will keep producing, the money will keep producing for me. Um, and that's how I think about it. It's pretty simple. I don't think about I don't try to complicate investing or finances too much. If it's a good deal and it's on sale, it's got great leadership, it's an improving company, I'll invest. I'll get involved. I'll do work for them or something. Um, and if not, then I have no problem saying next. There are hundreds and millions of other companies, millions of other people, and the world keeps going. The sun will come up. So, um, and that's kind of how I approach my bees too. Is little things happen throughout the season, throughout the year, but you got to look at the initial, not the initial growth, but the continuous growth over time, and not just the daily fluctuations. So, that's kind of how I compare the two in my mind, how they're linked for me. I'll get more in depth into more financial stuff and how that relates to beekeeping later on. But that's where finances and beekeeping initially connected for me.